Okay, so if we have h equals 16t squared plus 32t plus 32, in order to find the range, we need to find its axis of symmetry first. Once we find the axis of symmetry, you can find this vertex, and once we find the vertex, you can see it has a minimum or a maximum. Okay, so for axis of symmetry, we have the equation negative b over 2a. So we know that our 16 is a, and 32, which is the middle term, is our b. So the last term would be our c value, right? Okay. So once we identify a and b, we can just plug it into our equation. So here we would have negative 32 over 2 times 16. So we would write negative 32 over 2 times 16 is just 32. So when we divide negative 32 by 32, we would get negative 1. So we know that x, or basically t in this case, equals to negative 1. Okay? So once we do that, we can find now our vertex. So we can just plug in our t value in our original equation. So that means that we're going to have h equals to 16 times negative 1 squared plus 32 times negative 1 plus 32. So negative 1 squared is just positive 1, and positive 1 times 16 would give you just 16. Then negative 1 times 32 would just be negative 32, and then plus 32. So this negative 32 and 32 cancels out, and we're left with 16. So we know that when x, or t in this case, equals to negative 1, our h, or y, is 16. Okay, so that means that the coordinate for our vertex is going to be negative 1 comma 16. Okay, so that means that now we can find the range. So we know that our a value is positive, and when our a value is positive, that means that our parabola, so when our a value is positive, that means that our parabola is going to open up. If the parabola opens up, that means that it's going to have a minimum. Okay? So that means if we graph it, so at 16, let's say this is 16, and let's say this is negative 1. So that means that at 16 and at negative 1 and 16, your parabola is going to open up. So if we are talking about range means all your y values. So we're looking at the other y-axis. So that means that our range is going to be y is greater than or equal to 16. And it's this range because your parabola has a minimum. So if we look at the y-axis, so it's going to be from 16 up. So it's going to be either 16 or all the numbers greater than 16.